this is the spec of M3 MacBook Air that you should get. In base spec, we're looking at 256 gigabytes of internal unified storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 8-core CPU, as well as an 8-core GPU. Now some of you guys might be thinking, wait, isn't that the same specs we had on the base M2 MacBook Air? And that's correct, because the best M3 MacBook Air for me is the M2. So you see, the biggest jump in MacBook Airs was really from Intel to M1 from a performance standpoint, and then from a design standpoint from M1 to M2. M2 to M3 for me really is a little bit of an evolution rather than a revolution. And as a result, you end up sitting with this great device that's 1 year old, but number one, it's tried and tested. Number two, you'll get a full warranty from Apple. And number three, you're gonna get a really good price cut on it. And now let's look at who this device is actually for. Most people will tell you that the M1 or M2 or M3 MacBook Air is for the light user, web browsing, word processing, but nothing more. And the reality is, I do a bit of video editing myself. I do a lot of power kind of work. I do development, I do coding. And the M1 MacBook Air was really good for what I needed to do. I edit 4K videos. I don't do a lot of color processing, but for main simple cuts, adding a few effects and adding some audio, it works really well for me. So I, dare I say, would recommend an M2, even an M1 MacBook Air for most people, even people that are going to be doing really intense photo editing and a little bit of video editing if you're not doing crazy Lumetri color type of effects. So cool, let's have a look at what the device looks like, do a little bit of an unboxing, and yeah, so the M2 MacBook Air has a beautiful liquid retina display. It's about 13.6 inches, plus a 1080p HD FaceTime camera. As a person who spends a lot of my time in Teams and other virtual meetings, that camera quality is really important, especially when you want to look good for the people you're presenting to. Another really good feature now over the M1 is that you've got your MagSafe charger. A lot of guys who've had MacBooks from way back in the day missed the MagSafe charger. It's now back. That for me isn't the best feature. The best feature is you retain your two Thunderbolt 4 ports. So now when you're charging, you've still got two ports to plug in other things, where previously that was one of my drawbacks with the M1, is that if I'm charging with one port and I can plug a dongle in, I can't plug many more things, especially if it's a Type-C device. That really was a drawback, and now that really has been solved for me because I've now got two extra ports over and above charging. So now, of all the features and all the specs that I've mentioned, here is my absolute favorite. Drum roll, please. Finally, the best looking MacBook that you can get. This, I think, by far is the best color on a MacBook that they've ever put together. It reminds me of the last generation iMac Pros just before they got discontinued, and this really is absolutely gorgeous. They do say that it is quite a fingerprint magnet, but I'm one of those people who have to have covers on all my devices. I mean, my old M1 device is here with the case clamshell on top. I'm gonna get a clamshell for this, but I like knowing the fact that I've got this beautiful color underneath. Every now and again I'll take the clamshell off when I clean it, and you get this beautiful color to look at. Cool, let's see what else comes in the box. So as we can see over here, we've got this awesome braided cable. Everyone knows I'm a sucker for braided cables. It's going to be color matched as well. So if you buy the champagne looking color, I think it's called Starlight, you'll get a Starlight cable. If you get the silver one, you'll get a white cable, etc. As usual, Apple manuals, and there's probably a sticker somewhere in here. Had to be there. And of course, color match stickers. Beautiful, beautiful midnight color that you get on the MacBook. And this is the one downside. I wish they'd color matched this, because it still makes it look weird to have this beautiful braided cable in midnight black, but then you end up with the white power brick. And this is probably, it's a cost saving measure. It probably is easier to make these in white across the board and then only color match the braided cables. So yeah, that is, as I've said, without trying to be clickbaity, the best M3 MacBook Air that you can buy, for me that is the M2 MacBook Air. Cool guys, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to follow us, share our content, let your friends really get good access to this. Subscribe to our YouTube as soon as it's up, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.